All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to be with everyone today. We are live here in Chicago at the HR Technology Conference. It's great to be here. William, this is probably what year coming to this conference?
10th.
10 years?
Yeah.
Mike, you've probably been coming just 8 years, okay. So we've got 18 years. I've been here for, I don't want to say, but it's a great conference to come to, and it's great to be here with you guys today. As we walk around the show, as we look at what's happening, certainly I think there's some things that we're seeing. Recruiting is always a huge topic at this event. There's lots of recruiting vendors. I think about 30 or 40% of the sessions are specific on recruiting. Yep. So certainly a lot to talk about, and that's certainly what we want to talk about today. Before we get started, I want to introduce these guys. You probably know them, but I'll let them introduce themselves. William Tincup, he just joined an awesome new firm, Recruiting Daily, so I'd love him to talk about what he's doing now and give an introduction of why you're here.
Sure. So Recruiting Daily is it's actually a media play, and it's centered around content. And we have great writers, we have great submissions, and it's both a community, it's content, it's media, it's all kinds of things that I like that I've never really been able to do myself. As president, the job is two ways. It's half revenue facing and half P&L. Laying down some foundations. We want to grow the business. So we're in kind of a hyper-growth mode, and wonderful people.
You have the best writers. I mean,
Yeah.
I've worked with Charney in the past. He's edgy, he's funny, he's creative, he's all of the above, and certainly one of the best out there.
And you can't box him in. So the thing is with Joel Cheeseman and Matt Charney, actually a lot of our writers, I get calls from people like, hey, could you, talk to so-and-so, and maybe they couldn't, do this, that, and the other. It's like, you don't want me to do that. The moment I do, they're going to do it more.
Right.
So, no, you actually want me to not talk to them about it, because writers write. That's what you want. It's just what you want from journalists. You want them to do what's in their head, what's in their heart, and to put it out there. And to challenge the status quo. If they do that, everybody gets smarter.
That's right.
It's when they don't do that, at any media, especially ours, when they don't challenge the status quo, we all suffer a bit.
Yep. So if you haven't seen Recruiting Daily, check it out. It's a great site. I can't wait to see all the stuff that comes with your edition. Sure. Also with us today is Mike Bollinger from Cornerstone. So Mike, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Global AVP of our Thought Leadership and Advisory Group. Self-anointed. And we do spend a great deal of time in that strategy conversation, taking content such as what William generates and having conversations with our customers. I'm honored to lead a team of practitioners and former executives as a part of that group, and it's Cornerstone's way of having a point of view in the industry as well.
Yep, awesome. So what do you think of the conference so far? I mean, it just started yesterday. Any sort of initial takeaways that you're seeing out there?
That was the best reception I've seen.
Was it? Good.
Out of all the years, the best reception.
What made it the best?
Just an energy.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I normally go for a little while and then leave. I stayed the entire time. So I got in there when it first opened, and I stayed the entire time.
Yeah.
Problem with that is, traffic and getting away from the hotel or whatever. But the actual expo itself was wonderful.
Good.
It's just an energy. People were there.
Yeah.
People were talking, trying to do deals. It was nice to see.
Yeah. And Mike, you walked the floor yesterday.
I did. I walked the floor.
What sort of trends that you saw?
Well, what's really interesting is when you walk the floor in the expo hall, you kind of want to walk the outside if you're looking for the innovation and where people are starting up and so on. And there was a lot of that on the floor, but a lot of it really was recruiting and recruiting based.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting in some of the innovative things that I saw there.
Good. So I know we want to talk about recruiting trends, but also talk about just recruiting in general. At Cornerstone, we recruit a ton of, I hate the word millennials, but we recruit the younger demographic of the workforce. And one of the things that we always get, I shouldn't say always, but often get when we're interviewing millennials is they're always thinking 2 or 3 plays ahead, right? How long is it going to take me to get promoted? What's my next career going to be? And they're asking that question in the interview process. So what are your thoughts on that, William, and how do you respond to that when you get that question?
Well, it's changed the job of a recruiter. 20 years ago, none of us could imagine walking into an interview and saying what's next, much less thinking what's next.
Yeah.
And so recruiters have really never had to have career development, career pathing, internal mobility. They've never really had to talk about that. They might talk about the job, the skills, the boss, this, that, and the other, culture, generic type stuff. They're kind of an advocate for both the candidate and the company. but they've never really had to talk about what's next.
Yeah.
So it forces them, all recruiters, into a new conversation. It also forces the organization into having a plan.
Yeah.
So, the recruiter can't just not answer the question. So if somebody asks, which they are, and you act like you don't have an answer, you're dead on arrival.
Yeah.
So that's done. So it focuses HR and recruiting to work together in where it works to create a plan for career path. Okay, when you come in, you're going to be here with success. You'll have options.
Yeah.
These options could be this, this, and this. You'll need additional training. You'll need additional experience. You'll need this. You'll need that. So it gets to the other parts of HR.
Yeah.
Y'all started as an LMS. It actually kind of gets to the heart of that. Because if you don't have a way to train people, if you don't have that path of what's next, they won't come work for you. So it's
Mike,
changing the
on that
conversation.
point,
But the other thing I found really interesting about that as well is Rutgers does a study every year of graduating seniors, and one of the things that they say is they would take a little less money to go to work for a company that shared their value set.
Right.
And so that then presupposes, as an organization, we need to be very clear in that recruiting conversation what our values are, what it is that they want to align to.
That's right.
And it translates then into referrals and all the other things that we want them to be able to do.
Well, culture should both attract and it should also repel. People don't understand culture in that way. They think that a culture, especially if it's a culture that's lived through the actions of everybody in the firm, culture should actually be something that you live day in and day out. Everybody lives it, and you either like that, and that's you, or you just like this is what we got wrong about Amazon. A couple of months back, New York Times did an article on Amazon, and Amazon has a terrible culture, as if there's a bad or good culture. What's wrong about that is that's the culture that works for people at Amazon.
Right.
So if you want to work around really smart people, if you want to work around really aggressive people, if you want to work 110 hours a week, okay, if you want to work there, that's your culture.
Yeah.
And that again, that repels people that don't. So if you care about work-life balance, maybe Amazon's not the place for you.
But Mike, in this question, so I'm sure you see a lot of clients that don't want to have that mobility discussion for lots of different reasons, right? And they don't even want to have it in the upfront before they're even employees.
Correct.
So how do you encourage clients to, or companies that you visit with, to have that discussion early on and think about talent mobility and design it versus being reactive to it?
Well, so a little bit about the alignment of the value set. So you really want to be sure, and I like the repel concept, I really do. You want to be sure that you reinforce that. But then the next thing that you want to do is you want to be aware that they have a desire. Most of our internal research at Cornerstone tells us this. They have a desire to stay with you. That's what they want.
Right.
They're looking for a home, and they want to stay there a long time.
For a reason to stay.
For a reason to stay.
Yep.
And so for what you really want to do is you want to be able to communicate with them your desire to have them stay without necessarily saying, here's a career path.
Yep.
Because the career ladder doesn't exist anymore. It's the climbing wall concept now,
Yep.
right? So you want to be able to communicate that the opportunity for growth is there. And that's really what
Agreed.
they're looking for, is personal growth.
It's also those things are earned. So one of the things we have to kind of go back and rewire people, especially the generation that everyone gets a trophy, is that with success, so you have to have success. You have to actually be good at your job. If you're good at your job, if you master your job, if you have success, with success comes options. If you're not successful, well, then you know, then there is no next.
That's
It's
right.
not just given to you.
That's right.
And so there is a bit of a rewiring from college, and in the first couple of 10 years of one's career, that you kind of get like, no, I got to be really good at what I do.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot to mention at the start of this, we're taking questions. So if you have a question, fill out the comments. I see a couple of questions have come in, so we'll try to address them along the way. On this theme, so taking this to the next step deeper around screening and the screening process itself, one of the big themes is around AI, right? Artificial intelligence. Some people now call it cognitive services. What I mean, it's it's the buzzword du jour that shifts.
Right.
It used to be big data, but we're seeing a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but solutions emerge around using AI as part of that screening process. I met with a vendor a few months ago that basically said they can automate that entire screening process via a text conversation.
Right.
What do you think about that?
So here's the thing. I think we actually are on the forefront of another wave of technology, and I'm kind of lumping AI and NLP and machine learning, big data, and bots all together.
Yeah.
Because right now, I don't think the average practitioner knows the difference between any of them, so they kind of see it as a cloud, not to be confused with the cloud. So I think that we have the expectation for years that databases don't tell us things, that they're repositories.
Yeah.
Okay, so take that in comp, performance, succession, ATS, doesn't matter where you're talking. But these are just kind of an extension of Excel. They're grown-up Excel. And yeah, you can do certain things, but the truth is the databases have never had the expectation to tell us things that we didn't know. The data was never had the expectation to tell us things that we don't know. Now with these new waves of technology, as buyers, we're going to have the expectation that they tell us things.
Right.
That they inform us, both insight and action.
But are they going to be able to understand the biases that are naturally
yeah.
there?
Well, I
And
mean, the biases are there.
so-
They are there, but I think can the data navigate through those biases? I guess maybe a better
than
way
a
to ask
human.
the question is are machines going to replace recruiters?
No, but if you look at what we did in the consumer-driven society and back to the millennial conversation, there's an expectation that you behave as a customer, as an employee. We want that interaction. So what we did in the consumer-customer society, customer relationship innovations, were we are able to have that interactive chat, what we call level 0. There's an effectiveness to that, an efficiency to that, so that I have those first-level conversations through those bots, and then I can then elevate the tier 3
Agreed.
conversation. And so if we take that expertise concept to the recruiting concept, no, recruiters will never go away. We're just making them more efficient
Sure.
That's right.
with a generation that's willing to have that first level interaction.
They don't care that it's a robot.
Right.
They don't care that it's a bot
think
on the
that's
other
the
side of it.
important point.
Two things on the
We're ready for
candidate experience side. One is feedback on my resume as it relates to the job position. The other is where am I in the process, that FedEx, routing, wayfinding stuff. Those two things can be completely automated with bots, and the people that are getting the other side of it don't care that it's a robot. So they don't care. Why do we care? They get feedback in the way that they want to get feedback. Someone looks at a robot, looks at their resume, looks at the job. You're missing this, you're good here, and here's where you are in the process.
Yeah.
That can all be automated. And we don't do it already. This is the black hole in recruiting.
Right.
We don't do it. We don't do
So
candidate
you think we
feedback.
should be doing it already is what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the audience doesn't care. If
Okay.
the audience had a high, like they didn't like that for whatever reason, then maybe not do it, right?
Yeah.
Let's not make them uncomfortable. They don't care.
Yeah.
And it elevates the recruiter to have those conversations that they enjoy, right?
Yeah.
It makes their job more enjoyable as well. It's
I think it makes
innovation that robotics has done to us
Yeah.
for years.
I think it makes them more valuable to the process
I agree.
because they're focusing on the things that they can focus on.
Yeah. So let's talk about the data for a second here.
Sure.
Do you think recruiters are reporting on the right things today? The recruiting metrics, they're probably the same metrics that a lot of people have used for many, many years.
Yeah.
Time to hire, one of the craziest metrics I think people still do.
Yeah.
But
Time to fill, time to hire, cost of hire.
do you think people are doing it right today? What should they be measuring is maybe a better question.
So no. I mean, first of all, if there is someone doing it right, we don't know. Because if you're doing recruiting right, no one wants to hear this, by the way. If you're doing recruiting right, it becomes a competitive advantage. So
Agreed.
why in the hell, if it's a competitive advantage, would you tell people how to do it?
Because we're nice.
No.
Giving people.
No, the people that share are your B and C and D players. Because they
So
feel
you're saying
it's-
all the speakers at this conference, the top 9
no, I'm
speakers?
just
Referrals are that way too.
See, I'm not saying. One of my favorite phrases. I'm not saying that he's a serial pedophile. But seriously, the people that are really good at it, you'll never hear those stories. I don't care if it's in succession or in recruiting or whatever. You're just never going to hear their stories because they know it's a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
So let's take that group of people that we'll never know. Yeah, they're doing it right and they're measuring the right things. Outside of that, the people, I think they fall in love with too many metrics. And I read a book a couple of years ago called Lean Analytics. It's based on the lean startup movement. And it focused people on one metric, There's just one thing.
Yeah.
Just measure one thing. And they went through 100 case studies, Airbnb and, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember the Airbnb one story right, they measure the uploads of photos.
Interesting.
And that's their one metric. And if that metric is going up, they're doing
That's
fine.
good. Interesting.
If that metric is not going up, then there's a watershed of other problems, right? So recruiting, I think, is overcomplicated in the sense of we're trying to measure too many things.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the right things. I think it's too many things, and I think if it's deeply personal. So on some levels, I don't believe in best practices. I believe that
They're neither best nor a practice.
Right?
Yeah.
So I believe what's deeply personal to you and it works for you, if it really works and it's a competitive edge, we'll never hear about it. If it's something that you're measuring and it's aligned with your values, it's aligned with the objectives of the firm and the initiatives of the firm, then it's just one thing.
Yeah. And it should be unique to your
Totally
company.
unique, totally personalized. It's a fingerprint,
Right.
right? It's a fingerprint. What you should measure is a fingerprint. It's totally unique to you. So people that generalize metrics and generalize things, I think it's generalized for stupid people, generally. This is people that need to be led in that way, and so they give you best practices, which are neither best or practices.
Right.
The things that work at Zappos will never work for you because
Now,
you're not Zappos.
I agree with you with one small adjustment, okay? I think what we really should be talking about in the industry is a quality of hire metric, which is really an index of the 2 or 3 things that
But even
really
everyone
matter.
measures that a little bit differently, right?
And
Is
that's
it
okay.
90 days?
values.
Is it
That's
60
important.
days?
That's
Different
the different
values.
values. That's
Right.
the point, right? It becomes an index of what you value. And
Yeah,
then,
I
so
can buy
whether
that.
it be manager rating or sourcing or 30, 60, 90-day turn or whatever it is, build that little index and then focus on that and make that a message throughout the organization.
Right.
And I think you get some lagging and some leading indicators that way,
Yeah.
and something that then is personal to you and is your differentiator. I
Yeah.
agree with you on that point.
I think in the future you care more about perception. What's the candidate's perception of you, your brand, the hiring manager, the process? What is their perception? If you have a finger on the pulse of their perception of you, then I think you got a pretty good relationship with those candidates. But it's where we get sideways is when they have a perception of you that's wrong, either good or bad. But they have a perception of you that you don't like. And so how do we track that perception?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's shift the discussion around the gig economy. A lot of people have been talking about the gig economy, which is I don't want to just work for one employer. I want to work when I want, where I want, how I want. So how should we be thinking about recruiting in the gig economy world?
I think you're talking even more about the branding and the value set and so on. But in addition to that, one of the things that you want to do is you want to extend the concept. Now we're getting outside recruiting a little bit. Extend the concept of hypo and the concept of succession planning to that pool, to those individuals. Because as we move into that economy, it's, do what you do best as a core competency and then connect to the rest. And there's a desire on the part of the individuals to do that as well.
Okay.
That means that you need to treat them as an extended ecosystem, not as a contingent worker. And that's a shift for
Sure.
us
Yeah.
in the industry.
Most companies treat them very differently.
Yes.
Yeah, it's you're 3/5 at that point. You're not a full employee. You're not
Right.
treated with full benefits. You're kind of an employee. I think the future of talent, kind of on some level, depends on your thoughts or ideas around portfolio management. If you think about portfolio management from a wealth perspective, you've got money on a lot of different places. For years, we've looked at talent in either a full-time, part-time, possibly seasonal perspective. I think that portfolio of talent is changing, with us or without us. And so offshore, outsource, contract, on-site, RPO, all the different ways that talent can be leveraged, because our jobs are to leverage talent to an end, a goal, whatever. And so the talent wants to behave differently. It's whether or not we can interact with that talent differently. That's actually up to us, because we repel the talent or we attract the talent.
Sure.
And so our portfolio of talent is changing. It has changed.
Yeah.
And it will continue to change based on all kinds of things that we are both foreseen and unforeseen. People want to work from home. People want to work from the
Right.
beach. People want to work 2 days a week. I mean, the way that we should be working with baby boomers right now is putting them on fractional. Work 2 days a week. You don't
Yeah.
want to retire. You don't want to get out of the game. You want to transfer a bunch of knowledge, but you don't want to work. Get it.
So build on this theme of a portfolio of talent, because I remember hearing a fast food chain a few years ago that was building talent pools from And what they were finding is the quality that we often look down upon, convicted felons were actually their best performing employees, right? They would show up on time, they would work longer, the turnover was less. And so I'm curious on, if you think about portfolios of talent, where should we be looking that people don't necessarily look today? I mean, I remember going to a big grocery chain in San Antonio, and they were basically telling us, we've exhausted our talent pool and our demographic. We've hired everyone that we can. What do we do next? So how do you think outside of the box in things like convicted felons that actually turn out to be really good employees in certain industries?
I actually had the honor to speak at in Florida, the Big Bend Reentry Coalition, which is put on by the U.S. Attorney General. And there are some interesting ideas that come out of that. But one of the things that we should know is 1 in 15 adults in the United States will have a record, will have spent some time in jail. Yeah. So that's an untapped pool.
Why you get nervous there?
So
back when I was in prison.
Yeah, convicted? So
accused, never convicted.
The fact that, you know, the story you tell is actually a true statement. What was really interesting with this event that I was at is the interest on the part of the employers, because it is an untapped pool. In an economy where 10,000 people reach age retirement every day, it's an area of huge interest. And, you know, even the Fed has gotten involved with ban the box and those kinds of things. But it's that conversation that extends to that new pool, if you will, of individuals who are highly motivated, who are extremely grateful for the opportunity, and it prevents the recidivism, which is an issue.
Everybody benefits from that. I think on some level you have to go up and go, our society has to figure out, what is prison for? Is it to punish or is it to rehabilitate? It's probably based on the crime. When you get right down to it, murders and rapists, okay, that's one thing. But people that should be rehabilitated, we should double down and actually rehabilitate them. If you ignore talent, it's at your peril. There is an entire huge talent base there that right now, with a little of investment, you could probably get a huge return. But they will take an investment, right? But it's like this with all talent. If you ignore them, that's actually your fault. You're ignoring them.
So how do you absorb the risk, though? It's just you back it up by the data that shows the
there's risk with anybody.
Performance?
Well, and that was what the employers said at this event, right?
Yeah.
Look, there's always risk.
Right.
I'm willing to take that risk because I'm looking for people who are highly engaged, who are going to stay with me. And particularly in areas such as the trades, that they just can't find folks.
Yeah. I worked with a sales leader who would only hire out of Narcotics Anonymous. And the reason for it, his belief, first of all, he was an addict as well, but his belief was they know how to hustle.
Yep.
They know how to hustle. And if they know how to hustle, I just got to teach them the plan. I just got to get them on the strategy. Once I get them on the strategy, oh no, I don't want to teach them sales. No, they're good there. They know how to sell. They're good there. They just need the other thing, right? Seriously, Tim Callahan here in Chicago, he literally hired only from Narcotics Anonymous.
Interesting. So let's come back to the recruiting topic for a little bit and talk about skills of recruiters today. I mean, do you think that our recruiters today are as skilled using data, or are they just doing the same thing that they've been doing the last 20 years, just maybe with a little bit different technology?
Okay, so ABC stratification.
Yeah, so okay, let's do a little history lesson. At one point, this country was really a horse culture, and along came trains. Right? And fast forward a little bit of time, and along came cars. At one point, if you were a horse and buggy guy, you had to make the decision, am I going to accept trains? Am I going to this new thing? And then when cars came along, am I going to give up the horse and buggy? Am I going to accept these cars? If you want your skills to ever be relevant, you have to reinvest in your skills every 3-4 years. You have to make the commitment to yourself. Some things are new. Things have changed. I need to reinvest. Those that don't, go away.
So what should they be reinvesting in?
STEM. Anything in STEM. Anything in STEM. Stats. Learning how to
code.
Science,
technology, engineering, and math for the audience.
For those, yes. That can't have Google. But the thing is it really is. You make an investment as a recruiter. You're saying things are happening beyond me, behind my current capabilities. I need to learn how to code. I need to learn statistics. I got to learn the questions that I should be asking are based in math. And okay, again, marketers made this decision 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so 15, 20 years ago now, you'd walk into an ad agency and people smoking cloves, wearing berets, and talking about Manet and Monet. Today, they're all looking at Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Okay, they can't have it.
And
You
segments.
can't. Yeah, you can't have a decent art conversation with a marketer now. Like, let's forget it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But you can have one hell of a pivot table discussion with marketers. That is true of HR and recruiting.
Okay.
Both of them have to make the decision to either reinvest in their skills or not.
Yeah.
And I would also agree and say, in addition to that, that recruiters feel more closely akin to marketing than they do to HR.
Sure.
That presupposes that you are able to have a position on messaging and communicate that messaging to the individuals within the process chain
right.
as well. So you have to stay focused on message. So it's those two skills.
It's the popularity of CRMs now, candidate relationship management applications. So your avatures and smashflies and all of those characteristics. There's a reason that that's becoming kind of a thing because it's HubSpot for recruiting. It's putting all of those layers, essentially, here's marketing automation over here, things that have been going on for 20 years, now applied to us.
So one of the questions I hear all the time now in reinvesting your skills and learning new things is Snapchat. Should
We just talked about Snapchat.
talent professionals, recruiting professionals be using Snapchat?
If your audience is there, you should use it.
Okay.
So the bias of social is that it's an ignorance or arrogance, flip a coin, is that people think there are rules in social. There's no rules. If your talent exists in that medium, you're a fool for not using the medium. So that's it. So you solve for this by saying, are they on Instagram? Great. Are they on Pinterest? Great. Like, I don't have an emotional connection to the technologies.
Yeah.
If I'm a recruiter, I want to know where the audience
I want to
is.
fish where the
I'll give you
fish are.
a really
Try.
interesting case study, which is for a professional services firm. They were looking for the purple squirrel on a regular basis, and what they found was if people became active all of a sudden on a particular social network, didn't really matter to the channel, they had a propensity to be recruited for, and when they used that as a metric to reach out through that channel, they actually were able to do much, much better.
Yeah,
So it's something that it's there.
Yeah,
it just
the
is.
failure, Jason, is just doing it for doing its sake.
right.
That's the fail.
That's right.
And that's what we've all made this mistake.
Recruiters do that all the time, right? They
We've
chase
all
the
made
hot
this.
new trend, whether it fits with them or not.
We've all made this mistake.
Yeah.
It's all should be based on the audience.
Yeah.
If your talent audience is there, you should be there.
Yeah.
Back to marketing.
So we're getting pretty close to our time here. I guess I'm looking at some of the questions. The Snapchat was actually a question that we got in online. What are your big takeaways for this event, or what do you expect to take away when you get on the plane Thursday or Friday? What do you think the big buzz is going to be?
I think you've got a vendor hall where vendors are going to have to make the decision on whether or not they're going to integrate these new technologies or they're going to double down on what they already have.
Okay.
And so what you're looking at is about half the expo hall is dead, and they don't know it. And so I think that's the hard part. Is you know some of these vendors you love, and you've loved them for years, but they're just dead because they're not going to reinvest,
Right.
and they're not going to go and dig into these new predictive forecasting types of technologies or data that informs us. So that's going to be, I know that's going to be a thing, and it's never the people you think.
Right.
It's never the vendors that you think, it's like, oh, okay, they're old, they've been around, they're probably tired, they're probably not going to reinvest, and they're the ones that are innovating.
Yeah.
So no one really knows. What you'll know is the next release cycle. The next time they come out, the next time they release a new product, the next time they acquire somebody, that's when you start to figure out, okay, they get it. Whether or not you innovate internally or externally, the movement will be, are they acquiring, are they building these new types of technologies?
So that's the trick of this event, is trying to
right.
sniff out where that innovation
right.
is happening, whether it's in the startup world or whether
That's
it's
right.
in the mature.
That's right. People
Software
often,
companies.
and y'all have been around for what, since 2006-ish?
99.
99.
Come
Whatever.
on, William.
Anywho, I was asleep
When
most of those
dinosaurs
years.
roamed the earth.
The thing is reinvesting in technology is one thing. You've seen a couple of these iterations. You've seen both on-premise and cloud. Y'all made the bet on cloud. I think when you look at innovation, most people think that the innovation only happens in startups.
Right.
And it's a failure. It's actually a failure of all of us because we fall in love with what's hot.
Yeah.
Okay, these guys get funding. These guys are, this is just popped up brand new. This is shiny.
Yeah.
Problem is ADP innovates. Y'all innovate. Ceridian innovates.
Yeah.
IBM innovates.
So I met with our product team last week, and that was my big theme, is that
Yeah.
startups have the advantage of speed.
That's right.
We have the advantage of time.
That's right.
So let's use that to
And
our
view,
advantage
yeah.
and think things
Yeah,
through in a
y'all
much more
also,
methodical
this is a
way.
vantage point, right? Y'all have a vista in which you look at the world, and you've made a lot of the mistakes.
That's right.
The thing about startups is we call it pivot. It's a sexy way of saying, failure.
Yeah.
And y'all have done a lot of that stuff.
That's right.
The companies like y'all. So I think that, you look for innovation, definitely walk around the outside,
I would
definitely go
agree.
to the startup pavilion. But truth is, go to every booth.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have something that's innovative, dead man walking.
Right.
But yeah, I'll probably fly out Thursday night thinking about who those vendors are,
Okay.
trying to get a better feel for who is and isn't innovating.
Yeah. Mike, what are your
Well,
thoughts?
it's a variant on what William said, which is, you have a lot of people who have little positions in a lot of different companies. And I think that the companies who are willing to interact with those in a various customer bases in a way that is embracive of that is something that is a forward-looking trend for the larger companies. So you want to embrace those places where those spot and individual points of innovation are occurring within your customer and be a part of that as part of a broader ecosystem. So my takeaway for that is really to be able to have a conversation with our customers about the things where they see innovation and then making that a part of our overall
a really
conversation
good
at
point.
Cornerstone.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
It's a really good point because you can out-innovate the audience, right?
That's right.
So innovation, I guess if we look at it generically, is not really the game. It's innovation close to where the audience wants it to be.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
I think we should leave it there. So, guys, I really appreciate. Yes, drop
Sure.
the mic, please. I really appreciate you guys' time.
Sure,
it's
it's
great
fun.
as always. It's always fun. The rehearsal is probably just as fun, or maybe
Oh, yeah,
funner than,
yeah.
than doing this. But I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you all for joining us today. We do have a takeaway. We have a recruiting
Hello?
guidebook
Oh,
at csod.com/recruiting guidebook. So if you'd like to go check that out, hopefully that's also useful information. Thank you for joining us, and we look to talk to you next time. Thank you.